Welcome back, my friends. We're moving into task 4, and it's simply titled Monitor Stakeholder Changes. So let's dive into it. You can see the power interest grid from the past. Things like this still come up. They still crop up every now and again. I remember back in the day, the early ACP, a lot of folks would say, oh, make sure you read the stakeholder chapter because you could get questions that talk about this grid or one thing or another, which is not untrue. So here we have maintain proper stakeholder involvement. How do you do that? Continually assess changes in the project and organization. And why do you do that? To ensure that new stakeholders are properly engaged. So remember in the very beginning when Roy said there's value in letting people know what you're doing. Well, we talked about future stakeholders. Well, now this is where we do that. So we're constantly scanning who is new, who do we need to involve. And again, the product owner, typically, we definitely want them. If the product owner isn't doing this, then we're in big trouble, aren't we, Roy?
Absolutely. It's one of the primary jobs of the product owner. It's not just defining what we're working on, but ensuring that our stakeholders' needs are being met, right? That's ultimately what we're looking for, is ensuring our customers, which include stakeholders, that their needs are being met. And how can you meet their needs if you don't know who they are, right? And one thing that we can guarantee, just like requirements change, so do stakeholders. Their needs change, who they are changes, people come and go, all that good stuff. We got to keep them involved and make sure that we are constantly evolving this along the way.
Good stuff. And it's as simple as that, Roy. Any other comments about this one?
Yeah, just so I want to point out the power and interest grid. There is value in doing that. I have to admit that on a lot of Agile projects, we don't do it. We rely much more heavily on understanding and relationship and talking and collaboration than we do on more formal analysis. But it doesn't hurt to do it, right? If you get value from it, go ahead. That's perfectly fine. Just make sure that we understand who our stakeholders are. We understand when they change. Anytime there are changes in the project that our stakeholders are involved and that they understand what's going on, often they cause changes, right? So if they're causing the changes, they are naturally involved, but we need to make sure that they understand the impact to the change, to the project based on the change that they're requesting. And always make sure they're properly engaged. One thing that you can make use of with this grid, not everyone needs to come to a review. Right? Only if they have real interest, if they have real power or influence, they probably should be involved in the review. But you don't have to invite the entire world, right? So make sure that you're bringing the right people, a reasonable sized meeting, people, and let's also understand stakeholders. Stakeholders are not just vice presidents or whatever, right? They're not just leaders. Often stakeholders can be people that are receiving the product, operations, governance bodies. They can be stakeholders as well. So we want to make sure that we're inviting the right people in so they see what's happening and can make changes along the way.
Good stuff, Roy. Thank you very much. Let's go into a very easy question. I'm always saying they're easy, but truly this one is. All right. Is a poll coming up? Let's stop sharing and let's relaunch. Here we go. What do you think? A for true, B for false? Thank you. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Let's go ahead, end the poll, and let's share the results. And thank you for the chat there, and very good effort. Indeed, this is true. Roy, what's the one that do we have a name we call this concept? The money for nothing, change for free?
Yeah, it's a contract concept. So here's the idea, and this goes to a concept that it's called flexible contracts. In traditional contracts, you have fixed price, fixed scope, fixed everything. And those actually don't work very well. They seem very, very great. And they seem like great contracts. They're terrible contracts. They're not very Agile friendly at all. So the basic idea is that if the stakeholders want something new or different, we want to give them the opportunity to get it, right? And that's because their needs might change, their understanding might change, the market might change, all kinds of things change along the way. We need to make sure that the business is enabled to make those changes. But there is a side effect, right? If they want something new, happy to do it, but something else of equivalent size has to come out. So the one concept of how to do this on contracts is something that's called money for nothing and change for free. So the change for free is that if you want to change, happy to do it, but you have to give something up, right? And I think it's a pretty fair and simple thing, right? We're doing things in small pieces. Something new comes in, something else comes out, right? Pretty simple. Now, the money for nothing is, especially when you're working with a vendor, vendors are normally incentivized to run out the contract all the way to the end so they get paid, right? So they might take a little extra time, and we don't want them to do that. Don't we want them to get the work done early if possible? Well, what's the incentive for the vendor to get work done early? There isn't any, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the money for nothing is if they get done early, they get a percentage of the remaining contract, so that they do get some incentive to finish the contract early, right? Just kind of makes some sense, doesn't it? So it's basically building contracts that are more agile friendly and allow you to swap scope and encourage getting work done earlier, right?
It's a lovely arrangement. Yeah.
Nice and simple.
Nice one. All right. Play on words from the Dire Straits there for sure.
Exactly. One of my favorite forms.
Okay. Well, that concludes that task. They're getting easier. They're getting easier.